on the bright side, we do have some good defenses to talk about, and we'll do that next here on Locked On Crossovers.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so let's look on the bright side a little bit. We got some defense to talk about. And hey, defense is a lot of fun if you're willing to let it be. So Zach, talk about what's made Auburn's defense so good to start the year.
Yeah, well, I mean, the issue, and that's what's like Auburn fans are wanting to talk about the most, is not getting off the field on 3rd and long situations. Outside of that, this defense has been pretty solid, especially with the amount of plays that they've been asked to play because the offense keeps turning it over at an alarming rate. The pass rush has gotten better. I didn't like how they started the season off, but Jalen McLeod, the former App State defender 2 seasons ago, I mean, he's been exceptional, especially over the last 2 games. You're starting to see Kieran Crawford, the transfer from Arkansas State, become better and better and kind of get more acclimated to the speed of the SEC. I think those 2 guys have been pretty solid. But all in all, like you've seen glimpses of a lot of defensive standouts for the Auburn Tigers. Kayan Lee on the back end at corner. You've seen him have moments. Jaron Thompson, the transfer from Texas, he's had moments. And so to me, like this defense, I think does a few different things pretty well. It's just consistency, specifically on 3rd down, has been a little tricky. But statistically and just overall points, considering the situation that the offense has put them in, it's actually, I mean, they've been pretty impressive.
And for Oklahoma, Jay, we've seen a lot of guys really, really step their game up. But overall, what has been your biggest takeaway from this defense through the first 4 weeks of the season?
Not only are the defensive linemen and the edges getting a lot of pressure, the linebackers being everywhere, Robert Spears Jennings is killing it. That safety has been in every single spot that you would hope you would want he would be at in order to make some big plays. He had one bad play against Houston, and that was when Houston got their one deep pass initially throughout the game, and you saw because it was right after the Woody Washington interception that was called back, and they said it was pass interference even though he was going after the ball with the wide receiver. They didn't get the play out there fast enough. Robert was not in the right spot. After that, he said, I got this. Won't happen again. Since then, he's been one of the highest graded safeties in college football. He's everywhere. He forced that fumble on Nico on a safety blitz, got right there, put his helmet right in his elbow. Ball just flies. This is the ball at the 5-yard line. We're not going to talk about what happened afterwards. What we're going to talk about is that this secondary has done a lot of better job than I even anticipated, right? Nico wasn't even able to throw for 200 yards in this game. And they were taking some shots deep. They were trying to, but the pressure that the offensive line and the edges are getting, man, they're doing a really good job. I think that that's going to be what's going to be the biggest game decider going into Auburn. If this defensive line can keep pressure on the quarterbacks and make them move faster than they want to, hopefully we can get those turnovers going again.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I mean, I think whoever pressures the quarterback more has a great chance to win this one, especially when you look at the context of, okay, freshmen starting on the road versus, Peyton Thorne or Hank Brown, whoever gets to start. Obviously, if you pressure those guys, they're not going to be as efficient. Which matchup do you guys like more? Auburn's pass rush against Oklahoma's beat-up offensive line, or Oklahoma's defensive line and pass rush against an Auburn offensive line has actually been pretty solid so far this year?
I mean, I think Auburn's going to have an edge against Oklahoma's offensive line. It's not been consistent enough down to down, game to game. We're still trying to get healthy, trying to get consistent, trying to find more cohesion. As Jay mentioned, 13 different iterations of this offensive line, and that's going to make it really difficult to do that. I think where Oklahoma can put Peyton Thorne and the Auburn offense into some bad situations is because their run defense has been so good. They held the Tennessee Volunteers run offense in check for most of that game. They averaged just 2.9 yards per carry for the game. Even if you take the sack totals out of that, it's 3.4 yards per rush. Remember, Dylan Sampson was averaging like 8 yards per carry. Deshaun Bishop was averaging like 10 yards per carry going into the Oklahoma-Tennessee game, and the defensive line really stood up. So that's what it's going to be for Oklahoma. Stop the run, which Auburn's got a really good run game. Stop the run, force Peyton Thorne into some long down and distances, and then tee off.
Yeah, and that's what Oklahoma did. I mean, Auburn runs a lot of RPO stuff, so Arkansas defensive coordinator Travis Williams walked an extra guy into the box, which kind of triggers that RPO to be a pass. And then it's like, all right, there's going to be guys open. We're just going to trust that you won't see them in time. And obviously that worked, and it resulted in turnovers. If I'm defending Auburn, that's what I'm doing until Peyton Thorne or Hank Brown proves that they can adjust to that quickly. To me, I think Oklahoma is going to do the same thing. Hey, as far as the beat up Oklahoma offensive line, like is the group that's projected to start this Saturday, is it the same group that has started together like last week? Like, will there be any level of cohesion, or are they changing it up even week to week?
It's probably going to be another change because we get another guy healthy. Yes, there's another guy healthy. Troy Everett. He's he was backup left guard as well as he was the starting center initially, and he hurt his knee in spring ball. Had to have surgery. That's when we went into the portal. Got Branson Hickman. So Hickman's playing. He's still banged up. He's probably about 70% right now. But Troy Everett actually has been suiting up and practicing with some ones the last couple of weeks. He's been getting some plays. And the anticipation is he's going to come in and probably play left guard. He's got his body up to about 320 and some change. So he's a nice size at the guard, but he's also a center. So there's a good chance that he ends up starting at left guard with the rest of the players who will still be the same. The only position will probably change is guard. And hopefully that adds a little bit of more chemistry and cohesion because Troy Everett knows the plays and knows the calls because he's, a natural center. That's probably what we're anticipating. So we thought he was going to play this week against Tennessee, and he did not. Okay. He suited up and warmed up and stretched, but he didn't end up playing. If he comes back, then I anticipate that's be your next switch. I'm just hoping that we don't have any more injuries, knock on wood.
That's wild. I mean, that is such a menace. Yeah, y'all said it was how many different versions of the O-line have played?
At least 13. I think there might be more.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's what this game's all about.
Yeah, so they've been missing their projected starting right tackle for several games. They've missed their projecting starting left guard, their starting center. They've had to move their guy that started at left guard to left tackle. They've had to move their left tackle to right tackle. It's been a mess, and that doesn't even include the wide receiver mess that Oklahoma's in, where they're down 4 of their top 5 wide receivers for the next month or more. Jalil Farouk is going to be the closest to get back, and he's 6 to 8 weeks out from a couple weeks ago. So it's just been a mess on the injury front for the Oklahoma Sooners. We're going to talk keys to the game in this one coming up next. Who's got the edge? Where do they? We'll find out coming up.